So, when I first saw this trailer for Transformers 1, I'm not even gonna lie, I had my reservations. Me, Big Sis, and Little Sis all watched it together, and they really went in on the trailer for this movie. I definitely had my concerns, but I was willing to give it a bit more of a time frame to, prove itself, and show me that this movie had more to it than meets the eye. So, yeah, I watched the second trailer. I saw a lot more to get my hopes up, but at the same time, there's still a few things that concern me. And by that point, Big Sis and Little Sis were just both done. Yeah, no, T-Ken and J-Will, they both were like, nah, we're not watching this movie. This movie looks like it's going to be trash. And this is something that is just a general rule of thumb for me. I try not to judge anything absolutely until I've actually seen it. And we're all Transformers fans. I wanted that to be a thing for all of us. So I said, you know what? I will pay for all of us to go to that movie. We're all gonna see it, and if it's trash, it's trash, and at least we'll know. But I had hope. So yeah, we went to see it. And man, this movie surpassed all my expectations. My expectations were low, I admit, but this movie is unironically some of the best Transformers content I've seen. Prime will always be my favorite, followed by Rescue Bots and G1, but this movie is easily in my top 5, and it's not even debatable for me. This movie, I have so much to talk about with this movie. It just has so much to dissect. Where so much you could feel and enjoy, where do I even begin? So yeah, I think what I'm gonna do, because I have just so much I want to break down, is I'm gonna split this video into 3 parts. One part where I dissect the characters, which, man, I'm gonna have a lot to say about that one. In the second part, I will dissect the plot, which, not gonna lie, the plot was great. The plot was great, and I really enjoyed it, and I'm looking forward to that. And in the third part, I'll break down the general world building. How does Transformers hold up under the Transformers 1 perspective? Spoiler alert, it holds up pretty well. And I'm pretty interested in just some of the unique takes that they did regarding this movie. But that's enough of me ranting and just hyping the movie to the maximum, so I think we better get into it. And so I have so much to say about these characters, and I'm excited. I'm not even gonna lie to you. So, with so many fleshed out, intricate, really human-esque characters in this movie, I think that I'm gonna have to start this review out with what I consider to be the worst part of this entire movie. Or rather, who I consider to be the worst part of this entire movie. And given who that is, that hurts me really deeply inside. I'm not even gonna lie. Because you see, the main character that I feel would be the worst part of this entire really good movie, the main gripe I have in the entirety of it all, is Bumblebee. Or rather, B-127. You see, Bumblebee over these last few shows, save for a couple like Earthspark, arguably Cyberverse, has generally gone with the Michael Bay and the Line continuity take of him having his voice box torn out by Megatron or some other Decepticon in a heroic sacrifice. So, for this movie, given so much creative freedom to finally just be able to utilize Bumblebee's voice however they wanted, they said they wanted to try and give him a bunch of character with his voice. And oh boy, they succeeded. I'll give them that. I'll give them that. This Bumblebee feels like they very much overcompensated for all the time that Bumblebee couldn't speak, because he never shuts up, and they gave him a voice, but they used that voice in the worst possible ways. Okay, so yeah, this Bumblebee. Okay, so here's the thing. I can tolerate annoying characters to a degree. I can tolerate deliberately annoyingly written characters. I can tolerate like them like if I see that there's obviously an intention of growth there, which I do because obviously they're gonna grow Bumblebee out in sequels if they get the opportunity. But here's the thing: I cannot, I will not, I refuse to tolerate continuous lazy swear word jokes, especially when it's with one of my favorite characters across every single Transformers timeline. It is the sole part of this movie that I would call bad writing. I feel like once is too much, but they just kept on spamming that same bad joke throughout the entire movie, and that bothers me a little, I'm not gonna lie. But you know what? I've torn into this Bumblebee enough for a sec, so let me go into some of the positive aspects of him. Because I can see the makings of a decent character in this Bumblebee. For one, he's got that Bumblebee-like youth and optimism to him that every Bumblebee needs to have. That's the bare minimum, but I'm trying to be positive here. He very much is that type of character who, like, he feels almost like childlike. Like, he can improve if he just gets the right situation or the right person behind him. It's like, I'm trying, guys. Cut me some slack. Okay, so here's the thing. I'm trying, for their Bumblebee, I'm really, like, sure that they are going to at least, like, try and round him out to be a balanced, good character. But in terms of, like, most Bumblebees I've seen, I can't even really, like, compare him to them. Because, like, every Bumblebee has that childish, like, this childishness to them. That kid-like attitude. Like, G1 Bumblebee was clearly a child appeal character. He was constantly goofing off like Spike and Carly and Chip. Yeah, no, he was like basically a kid who was a giant robot. And then Transformers Prime Bumblebee, he was very obviously young, but he matured through like everything he'd been through and like his sacrifices that he'd made. So even without a voice, you got all the character you needed. But this Bumblebee is just no. If I had to compare this Bumblebee to a Bumblebee off the top of my head, and even though I don't consider this a completely fair comparison, I would compare him to Robot in Disguise 2015 Bumblebee. Now, before you guys get mad, I will say, I'm not saying they're the same. Robots in Disguise 2015 Bumblebee is the worst Bumblebee I have ever seen, and it's not even debatable, because at least this Bumblebee is a fresh start to a new universe when Robots in Disguise 2015 Bumblebee was taking what pre-existed for Prime and ruining it, and just completely character assassinating the mess out of Bumblebee full force. But yeah, rant over. This Bumblebee, I'm going to hold out hope for him like I've held out hope for this movie. I wish for Bumblebee to improve, and I believe that he can. But for now, let me put it like this. Most Bumblebees are defined by their infinite potential. Every Bumblebee that we've seen in some form or another has shown that they are the type of individual who does not simply fail. Like, Bumblebees fail like everyone else, let me clarify. But the main difference is that when the chips are on the table, like if someone is actually requesting something of them, if they feel like there is a task that they have to do, they are not going to fail it. They are basically the definition of competence. This Bumblebee, however, is the exact opposite. The entire reason he is in the movie is because he is an incompetent failure. And I do not mean that in terms of just attacking him. That is literally the reason he's there. This Bumblebee has been kicked downwards so many times that he is in a secret sublevel that people don't even know. He is that incompetent that they are literally sending him below at the bottom of the barrel. And that's hurtful when it comes to Bumblebee. Because if there's one thing Bumblebee is, it's not a failure. So yeah, this is my second least favorite version of Bumblebee, and it's not even close. So next we can move on to Alita 1. And I actually have a lot to say about Alita 1, because, like, she's honestly a bit of an underrated character, like some, and, like, general Transformers. But Alita 1 in this movie kind of starts out as, like, the type of person who's just kind of really just trying to work in the system. Like, she's trying to just make the most of her lot in life, keep on working her way up. She's been working a long time to, like, make any sort of progress in the system. So she's kind of like a real rule stickler. She's just really just pushing and pushing and pushing. And it looks like she's finally making progress in her life until our protagonists kind of ruin that. So, yeah, she's obviously not pleased with them. And, yeah, I can't really blame her. They kind of just uprooted everything she's been working towards for a good chunk of her life. So, yeah. But, generally, during the first half of the movie, Alita is kind of, like, just stern. She's very strict. She's very harsh. She is a bit arrogant because she kind of considers herself to be above the other miners, like, in terms of, like, her skill level, which, honestly, fair enough. We even get to see that she's so obsessed with making sure nothing gets in the way of her promotion that when Jazz gets trapped and is gonna die, she straight up, like, leave him to die in a collapsing mine. Though, admittedly, once they do ignore her, she does make sure that they all get out alive. Though she's naturally mad about it, and they did get her fired, so, yeah, that just kind of reinforced going against the rules. Bad. You ruined my life. Yeah, that's just kind of just how things went for Alita and how her character was. But, yeah, it's obvious that she just needs a bit of character development, and she gets that. As she realizes, like, as she finds out the truth about Sentinel Prime, and the real truth of, like, what's going on, she kind of has to adjust to the fact that, like, the system was rigged from the start. It wasn't just that they destroyed her life. Like, she was set up to fail from the beginning. And she kind of has to, like, accept the fact that, like, everything she's been working for is kind of pointless now. Which is honestly a great parallel to D16 in this movie, who has to go through a similar arc in a way. However, unlike him, she kind of adjusts better, and she's able to kind of, use this as a way to improve her character and see the benefits of Orion's mentality. Because Orion was the one who caused her entire little kerfuffle that got her demoted. And she's just been kind of sick and tired of Orion's nonsense for a while. Because he's kind of just that reckless, like, overly optimistic, I'm gonna do what I've gotta do even if it breaks the rules and has consequences type of guy. And previously she couldn't accept and respect that mentality because her entire thing was she was pushing hard to, get somewhere by staying in the rules. But as the movie goes on, she begins to gain a new respect for Orion. She begins to genuinely become appreciative of what he brings to the table. Like, her and him genuinely begin to, like, get a bit of a friendship going, especially after D16 gets captured. And, it's not anything, like, uber complex, but it's nice, it's simplistic, and, like, they did a good job of it. Alita's arc in this movie was basically just her kind of trying to be a good follower of the system, like, work her way up, realizing that the system is trash and, like, it's not even worth, like, trying to go up in because it's rigged, and trying to find a new, better purpose and realizing the things that actually matter. And, I like it. I again just want to quickly take a second and point out how the difference between she and D16 to handle this entire thing. Like, you can see how Alita, Megatron in this movie, he pretended to, like, generally, like, be a good father system, like, rules and regulations and such, But you could tell there were several hints throughout that movie already that he was not truly content. He had a lot of pent-up frustration and hostility regarding the system from the beginning, and it was just that finding out that Sentinel was trash and it was literally all for nothing was the final straw that finally just pushed him over the edge. You couldn't suppress it anymore. With Alita, her belief in the system was more genuine because, like, she actually was making legitimate progress. She genuinely did believe that she could do things better in the system. And then when she found out that even if she did, it wouldn't have even mattered because, again, it was rigged from the ground up. In the face of this revelation, she decides that instead of getting angry about it, instead of getting embittered, she just changes her worldview. She accepts the possibility that her previous assumptions were wrong about things like Orion's desire to be more and to get out of the system sometimes and to break a few rules. She simply just changes, and it's so interesting in comparison to how D16 handled things, which I'll get to. I'm saving him for last. I'm saving the best for last. But yeah, Alita 1 was a good character. Moving on. So after Bumblebee and Alita 1, the natural next choice of character to record would naturally be Darkwing. What? Wait a second. Were you expecting Optimus? You can't just put Optimus in the middle. No, of course not. Don't worry though, he'll be right where he belongs. But in the meantime, I think we'll get into the villains. So yeah, Darkwing. What can I say about Darkwing? He's trash. He's grade A trash. He's a bully. He's a jerk. He was put in a position of great power by Sentinel, and he uses it like any bully would. He is very willing to pick on those little weak minors who don't even have T-Cogs and can't transform and can't fight back. Which is why when they stand up to him, he gets so angry. Because how dare they? Did I not know their place in life? The audacity of them. And yeah, when Orion disrespected him, he was mad. When Megatron stopped him from punching Orion, he got even angrier. But when they beat him in the race, oh yeah, no, he was not letting that one go. He was not. And that's what led him to do the dumbest thing in the long run. And when Sentinel was going to get them repaired, he just straight up grabbed them up and tossed them straight into the sub-levels with Bumblebee. And that actually ended up saving their lives and saving the entirety of the world. So, yeah. Thanks you, Darkwing. I still dislike you. Yeah, no. Like, Darkwing is literally just... he's a pawn in the grand scheme of things. He's not relevant in the bigger scheme of Cybertron's future, but at the same time, he is, because without him, none of it would have been possible. In fact, Darkwing is such a problem for Sentinel because Darkwing's entire bully shtick goes against Sentinel's entire scheme of being a villain with good publicity. Sentinel's entire operation runs around pretending to be a firm but fair, caring boss who sees the miners as those tireless heroes who are working hard to ensure Cybertron's future. He cares about them all. Meanwhile, Darkwing is like, you worthless miners who can't transform. Get back to work, you weaklings who have no options. Sentinel Prime wants more energon. I don't care if everyone's tired. You're just worthless miners who can't transform. You have no options. So yeah, no, obviously that goes against everything Sentinel's working for, and again, it's literally Darkwing's fault Sentinel's plans came crashing down. So yeah, Darkwing just kept on being a jerk. He wasn't anything special, but he was hateable enough that we all got a nice little sense of satisfaction when Orion showed back up after getting his nice little upgrade and socked the mess out of him because it was completely deserved. So yeah, Darkwing 0 out of 10, 0 out of 10 person, 10 out of 10 character. Would recommend sending to the scrapyard. So, now that Darkwing's out of the way, I think there's one more character we should cover real fast before we get into discussing the real villains. And that is a good old Starscream. Now, Starscream in this movie is a very interesting version of Starscream. This version of Starscream shares a lot of Starscream's general traits. His excessive amounts of arrogance, his pompousness, his desire to be a king, he shows a lot of classic Starscreamisms. However, there's one big difference that really surprised me, a trait that's seen in so few Starscreams. This Starscream is not a coward. I mean, rephrase. He's a coward, but he's not the same type of coward. He's best described as Starscream's general opportunism being one of his primary traits, without the same fear of battle that he shows in a lot of other shows. In this universe, Starscream was part of the Cybertronian High Guard, a group of special, extremely talented warriors whose main job was to protect and assist the 13 original Primes. So, obviously, we know what happened to them. Sentinel got the drop on them, and obviously, they knew that Sentinel wasn't the Prime and he was full of nonsense, so they opposed him, and obviously, he's too powerful now, he's the ruler of Cybertron, so they were kind of on the run. And Starscream didn't actually really want to make any direct attempts at opposing Sentinel, and while he said that it was a logical reason, it's heavily implied that one of the main reasons he's not doing anything is so he can keep his little power, his little control over his group. And he talks a big game about the strength of one bot over another, and he seems to think that bot is him. He thinks he's that guy. But when D16 shows up, he straight up calls Starscream a coward for just sitting there doing nothing and hiding while everything's going down. And when Starscream obviously takes offense to this, D16 decides to do the only natural thing to do to de-escalate the situation and headbutts him straight in the face. Naturally, this leads into an all-out brawl where Starscream actually shows that he has a bit of fighting skill. However, D16 fights with enough brutality that he ends up beating Starscream, and even though he's getting punched in the face over and over again, Starscream is still talking smack is that all you've got, tough bot? Is that it? Is that all you've got? And even when D16 is literally smashing his voice box and tearing up his throat, he is still talking smack. And he keeps on talking smack until the fusion cannon busts out. At that point, his tune changes pretty fast to stop, I'm with you, man, stop. And yeah, Starscream gets overthrown for once. And that is a really good twist. Normally, Starscream is just trying to overthrow Megatron because he wants to lead. But in this situation, he was actually the rightful leader of the High Guard. And guess what? Megatron took them from him. So yes, he has a grudge. And yes, he wants to become leader again. Because as far as he's concerned, he should have been leader in the first place because he was leader. So yeah, that's going to be a really interesting dynamic to see in later movies, as we just get to continue seeing how this Starscream cements himself. I'm excited, I'm not going to lie, it seems like it's going to be interesting. So after Starscream and Darkwing, who weren't really villains, I think it's time we get into the real villains of this movie. And I think we'll start out with Sentinel's right-hand bot, his bodyguard, Arachnid. Now, I remember Arachnid from Transformers Prime, and she was dangerous there, but here she's a borderline menace. She is just as dangerous as she was in Prime, but unlike there, here she's a bit more focused. She has an actual job to do, and here she's a bit more, focused on that task. She's still sadistic, don't get me wrong. She very much enjoyed it when she was cutting a bunch of High Guard people to shreds. But here she's a bit more focused on her actual task of protecting Sentinel and doing his dirty work. Like, I can see her still being a bit of that opportunistic individual that Arachnid was, but here she's not actually trying to deliberately subvert or stab Sentinel in the back. She has her cushy gig, she's got what she wants, and she's not really, like, struggling with any of that. She's completely cool with her lot in life. So, she's gonna just do whatever Sentinel wants her to do, and she's gonna do it well. She, in this movie, was an absolute menace, like I said earlier. She was the one who actually managed to take out Alpha Trion after all the goons that were sent with her failed. She is the person that was one of the most dangerous people during that Hardguard raid, like I said. Arachnid in this movie can fight. And she has all the different abilities of Prime Arachnid, plus a couple more. She has the 8 arms that all have blades at the end of them, which naturally is a problem because it's hard to block 1 punch in a fight. Try blocking 8 blades. But on top of that, she has something that's both neat and also that was the undoing of Sentinel in the end. Arachnid in this movie has 360 vision because she has literal spider eyes. Like, she has eyes on the side of her head, she has eyes in the back of her head, literally. She can see everything, and that was annoying in the movie before her protagonist, because she repeatedly caught them at like 100+ feet away, like at the edges of her vision, and trailed them back, which is how they managed to even find out where Alpha Trion was. And also, how they managed to find out where the High Guard was. She was just annoying with this. She sees everything. And fortunately, that's how the heroes managed to catch Sentinel out. She sees everything. Which means she's seen every dirty deal that Sentinel's ever done. She's seen it all in 4K, high definition. And it's her memory, so it's not even something that can be faked for real. So, yeah. Arachnid was neat, and I like how she was just really competent in this movie. It was a very unique version of her that I enjoyed. So, yeah. Arachnid in this movie was great, but like I mentioned, in the long run, she's just the big goon for the main villain of this movie, Sentinel Prime. Now, man, where do I even begin with Sentinel Prime? So I have seen a lot of Sentinel Primes in my time as a Transformers fan. I've seen the genuinely noble OG G1 Sentinel Prime, who basically just died before Prime got the Matrix. I have seen the other piece of trash but genuinely Autobot coded Sentinel Prime from Animated. He was awful, but he was an Autobot, and it wasn't something that was arguable. I have seen Dark of the Moon Sentinel Prime, a Prime who betrayed everybody, all the Autobots, and joined the Decepticons, but genuinely with the intent of rebuilding his destroyed home planet. And he didn't like what he did, even though that's not an excuse, obviously. But he genuinely thought he was doing the right thing. So with all that said, this Sentinel Prime is one of the biggest pieces of filth in all of Transformers fiction. This Sentinel Prime is pure evil, and it's not even something that he doesn't know about himself. He is pure evil, and he gladly admits it to everybody who finds out. Sentinel Prime in this movie is just wretched on multiple levels. So just to begin, he started out as one of the Prime's he started out as the Prime's clerk, basically. He was helping them out, he was aiding them in all their missions and during the battle with the Quintessons. But here's the thing. He got sick and tired of their petty heroism, and he didn't think that they were gonna win the war because of all their pontificating. So he decided, you know what, I'm gonna cut a deal. So he made a deal with the Quintessons to lead them all into a trap. And the Primes would have won if not for him showing up and murdering Nexus Prime right in front of them. And before they can even react, Sentinel proceeds to shoot and murder Solus Prime and begin just be fighting against all the others, and combine with the Quintessons, all the primes get wiped out. He even tried to kill Alpha Trion, but fortunately it didn't take. But yeah, no, he really just took out everybody so that he could, in his own words, live like a king. And yeah, he almost won. He almost got away with it in that one scene, if not for one thing. You see, Sentinel couldn't just settle with wiping out the primes and being able to rule Cybertron. He wanted the whole package. So, he went up to Zeta Prime and tried to tore the Matrix right out of his chest. The Megatronus couldn't stop him because he got killed by Sentinel. Yeah, no, Sentinel killed him after he got jumped. Before stealing his T-Cog so that he could look the part of a Prime. But yeah, Sentinel didn't want to just look the part of a Prime. He wanted to be one. So he took up that Matrix of leadership and thought, yeah, nah, I'm about to open this thing up and become like the greatest Prime to ever live. However, there's a problem. To be allowed to use the Matrix, you have to be a good, noble person. You have to be worthy of it. And Sentinel Prime was not worthy of it. The Matrix crumbled to dust in his hands, and he could just sit there like, no! So, yeah, no, that was a problem for him, naturally. Because he had a deal with the Quintessons that they'd help him take over Cybertron in exchange for Energon. Now, with the Matrix existence, that wouldn't have been a problem, because the Energon would have been infinite. But it's dust. So, Sentinel's in a bit of a pickle. What's he gonna do now? He needs to get that Energon. So, he decides on plan B. He literally sits with his goons outside the Wall of Allsparks for every time a new Transformer is about to be made. And before they come online, before they're even really born, he tears their transformation cogs out and destroys them so that they can work as a minor subcase, digging up the crystallized Energon that still remains on Cybertron so that he can pay off his debt. All while he's rewriting history to say, oh yeah, I was with them, like when they fought the Quintessons, that last epic battle, man. They wiped them all out and lost the Matrix. It hurt so much, but don't worry, guys, don't worry. I'm gonna look for it. I'm gonna look for the Matrix. I'm gonna find the Matrix. And I'm gonna set everything right. Yeah, no, he's trash. He was just trash on every level. He played the villain with good PR, just repeatedly trying to make sure that all those little underlings underneath him knows he cares. He cares about you guys, and he knows that things aren't ideal on Cybertron right now, but he's gonna set things right for himself. So, yeah. So, while he's just running Cybertron, enjoying himself, he's still, like, doing stuff to, keep the people happy with the whole bread and circuses routine. He gives everybody one day off every cycle to go to this big death race event that he thought of, the Iacon 5000. Yeah, fancy. So, yeah. Everybody gets the day off to just watch this race, a spectacle of ego, and then immediately afterwards is right back to work. And while he's doing all this, he's also trying to hunt down the Cybertronian High Guard, because presumably he's killed everybody else who knows the secret, and those guys are the only ones left who he believes can still pose a threat to his plan. He hasn't been successful for like the 50 cycles that he's been looking, but at the start of this movie, he's generally just living a pretty sweet gig right now. Things are going as he desires them to, and nobody can stop him. So yeah, during this last big race, he's just doing his usual Cybertronian 500 when two miners decide to enter the race. At first, he's confused by this, but as they're racing, he actually starts smiling, because this is actually something that's very good for him. And even though they don't win, he goes over to them in the med bay after the race and decides to compliment them a bit and be like, yeah guys, I saw you guys out there, you killed it, you were awesome. And they're just like, yeah, no, well, we just wanted to show that we're more than meets the eye, that we can be more than miners. And obviously, Sentinel isn't really hearing that, but what he is hearing is, you know what? You're right. You guys can be more than miners. And you guys showing you can be more than miners is making all the other miners work harder. They're trying to actually do more without me asking. So here's the thing. I'm promoting you guys to PR agents. And so yeah, his big plan was to have Orion and D16 go around the mine just hyping people up so that he can make people happier and pay off his debt to the Quintessons faster. Which is pretty evil villainy. It's like 101 in terms of trying to keep playing the hero. It was a clever tactic, I'm not gonna lie. I've seen some people think that this was an elaborate ruse and he was going to try and kill them after this. But I don't think that makes sense, given he was actually smiling during the race as he saw them racing. On top of the fact that, again, it just makes perfect sense that he would want them to be around and just keep on helping him pay off his debt. They're better to him alive. And with that in mind, Sentinel is really clever in how he's willing to give them something that seems like a big reward, but honestly isn't really that much. He just offers to let them go to his penthouse, basically, and get themselves patched up before they have to go back to, the mines. And obviously, those, like Orion and D16 are hyped up by this, but here's the thing. While this may have been a good tactic, Sentinel has created an environment of corruption and bullying between those who he allowed to have T-Cogs and those who work for him and those who don't. So, when the higher up management doesn't make sure the middle management isn't, ruining everything that they've planned, situations like Darkwing grabbing D16 and Orion and tossing them to sub-level 50 occur. And that mistake is literally what unravels his entire plan. That is what allows them to go to Alpha Trion, get Prime T-Cogs, and begin going back to Cybertron, to Iacon, with all the evidence they need. So, obviously, that Sentinel not pleased with this, and as this happens, we're going to see a little more of his true colors, as this situation unraveling and he's a bit more under the gun. We see exactly how trash he is in his interaction with Alpha Trion. Alpha Trion is to him like, you're a traitor, you're evil, you'll never succeed, and I knew Prime will, and he's just like, blah, 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 shut up, I'm tired of the heroic speeches. Sentinel is just a unique level of dirtbaggery, and when Sentinel tries to get Alpha Trion to spill the beans, and Alpha Trion's like, nah, they're gonna defeat you, you've lost, he just kills him. He just straight up kills Alpha Trion in front of us, and it's just like, the audacity, how could you do this? And even then, he's still talking like Alpha Trion the one who did something by saying, how disrespectful of him to give this speech to me, the murderer and evil tyrant. Who does he think he is? So naturally he has this goon arachnid go gather them up, and so when he eventually has a raid occur on the Cybertronian High Guard, he captured a bunch of people, and besides, he's not going to just kill them, he's going to do something more evil. He's going to set them up so that they look like the evil terrorist backstabbers who helped murder the Primes and sold out to the Quintessons. He is going to make it so that everyone believes that story that is true about him is true about them. And that's just a unique, ironic level of evil. That's just, wow. So he basically is having everyone kneel before him, as they're they're preparing for the execution. And D16 is like, you know what? No, I'm not gonna kneel. I have nothing to lose from not kneeling. You've already ruined my entire life. And you know what? He's like, you know what? You're right. I did ruin your entire life. And hits him in the face. And then he decides to twist the knife in a little deeper. Oh yeah, is that a Megatronus Prime sticker? Oh, how cute, how cute. I also like Megatronus. He was the biggest, the strongest, the most dangerous of all the Primes. Rah, big guns, big muscle. And that's why when I murdered him, I stole his T-Cog. And, like, at this point, like, his death is guaranteed. His death is guaranteed, and it's just like, he's just digging the knife in deeper. And he decides he's just gonna put a little more, like cruelty to this, like, to this entire situation. And it's like, oh, you like Megatronus Prime so much? You like that Megatronus Prime so much you're wearing that little sticker? Here, let me help you so you can keep something more permanent. And he grabs a blowtorch and burns the Megatronus Prime's face into D16's chest. And he's thinking, at that point, he's thinking, alright, I've made enough of a show out of this man, like he's done. And then when D16 gets back up, he's just like, you know what? Forget this. I'm killing him now. And he has the audacity to still say, a shame. You were a good miner. This man is just such utter trash. So, fortunately, like, the cavalry comes in the last second and saves them. But at this point, like, it's all or nothing. Like, everyone here needs to go if like, Sentinel's gonna keep his cover. So, he feels no shame going 100% mask off at this point. Because they're like, it's over, Sentinel. We've got all of us. Like you can't hide the truth. And he's like, oh, what truth? The fact that I stole every single T-cog from all of you infant children so that you can be my slaves? The fact that I murdered the Primes and sold out to our worst enemies? It doesn't matter. I'm the king. The truth's whatever I say it is. He's just completely revealing all of this to all of them because as far as he's concerned, they're not gonna live to tell it. So, yeah, he's just preparing to fight them, and we get to see all the neat perks that having Megatron's cog gives him. It gave him a battle mask, like heavy armor, like 16 different missile systems, and yeah, he's too strong for them. He's fooling all of them. They can't take him on. So while Orion, like Alita and B go to gather the evidence needed to dethrone him, D16 isn't gonna go with them. He decides he's going to try and fight like Sentinel on his own and 1v1. This fight is way too personal. So yeah, the fight happens and D16 gets some of his hits in, but he's a dead man. He loses. And right when Sentinel is about to kill him, it all comes crashing down, and it's wonderful to see. Sentinel has just lost everything, and all he can do is just keep sitting there with a flabbergasted face as the giant villain monologue he said like 5 minutes ago is shown to literally everybody. He is so shocked. And that's the thing about Sentinel. He is deeply vain, as you may have guessed by, all the murder and everything else I mentioned. He is so vain. He needs everybody to, he really needs every single person to see him as the hero. Like, that he can get to see him as the hero. He is so vain that, having his image destroyed was enough to stop him from killing the person who's trying to kill him in a life and death fight. Which leads to D16 tackling him out a window and breaking his spine. So, yeah. Like I said, Sentinel's time is limited. And after all the things he did to him, stealing his cog as a newborn credit for him, forcing him to work in the mines as a slave, mocking him to his face, murdering the person he looked up to, burning the symbol of Megatron into his face, preparing to kill him, kicking him in the face. As D16 is preparing to fusion cannon him into oblivion, he still has the audacity to be like, wait, D16, stop, we can talk this out, we can rule together, just let me live. Yeah, no bueno. Sentinel Prime dies in glorious fashion as Megatron tears him straight in half, and he deserved no less. This Sentinel was a magnificent villain. My sister once said that one of her favorite types of villains are the villains who are just villains, and I agree with that. Those are underused villains these days. This was a Sentinel that was just the one of the best I've seen, easily. He's my favorite Sentinel, flat out, hands down, and it's not even close. But yeah, that's about enough about our villains. I think it's time for the moment that you've all been waiting for. I said earlier we'd get to Orion and Optimus, and you were probably wondering, When is he gonna get to it? That moment is now. I don't really know for sure where to begin with Orion, so I guess I'll just start with his character at the beginning of the movie. The movie literally starts out with Orion breaking into the records room in order to watch footage of Cybertron's history, only to be caught by a couple guards and try to smooth talk his way out of it. And when the guards are bullying him and trying to give him a head start and joking about giving him a head start and how he can't transform, he pulls a fast one on them by being like, I can't transform. Watch this. He begins to do all the dramatic motions like he's about to do something awesome, then books it out while they're still sitting there like idiots. That immediately tells us multiple things about Orion. One, he still has his love for knowledge and history and information that he does in the Aligned universe, which I love. It's my favorite version of Orion. Second, it already shows immediately that he's willing to bend the rules to do what he feels like is a good thing, and with a feel like do something he feels is harmless. 3, he's a bit of a goofster, like, and even in like situations where he's very clearly in trouble because those guys were about to beat the stuffing out of him. And 4, he is one who can very much think on his feet because that was not a situation he was going to be getting out of, and yet he got out of it. So yeah, as the movie goes on during the chase scene that ensues, we get to see a little more of how people respond to Orion. Literally, as he's just making this mad dash through Iacon, everyone who looks up is like, oh, it's Orion. As he's like climbing on the top of the train and like doing all these elaborate jumps and nonsense to escape. And we just get to see the type of character he is. And after he successfully escapes to help with D16, we get to learn a little more about him. Because, like, he didn't just go into Hall of Records to snag something for himself. He also managed to snag something for D16. A cute little Megatronus Prime sticker to stick on his arm. I'm sure that won't be problematic later. But yeah, that gets to show, like, a little more of him. He is, like, D16 is annoyed that he's, like, you know, in trouble again, and he had to get bailed out by D16 again, which shows that this isn't Orion's first rodeo, and like his homie getting a bit sick of it. But at the same time, it shows that he's not just selfish. He does think about others, even when he's being reckless. So, and that's nice. So we get to see a little more of him in D16's relationship, as they're in the mines, being, you know, miners. So, yeah, they're just doing their usual daily grind, just trying to excavate more energon from Cybertron's half-dead world. And one of the miners gets trapped after an energon explosion. Alita naturally doesn't want to risk her promotion by wasting time and trying to, you know, save a man's life. So she's like, leave him. We're leaving Jazz. And Orion's like, what are you talking about? No, we're not leaving Jazz. So yeah, he goes back to the unstable collapsing mine and saves Jazz, which causes the, like, and the entire thing just collapses. Yeah, no, like that, it just, chaos ensues. And yeah, no, Alita's just like, if you get me fired, like, I'm going to hurt you. And Orion's just kind of laughing it off. He's not taking any of this seriously. Like, he's like, Alita, no one's gonna fire you. Alita 1, you are fired. And naturally, this was never what Orion had in mind. Like, Alita's obviously mad that he just destroyed her career. And yeah, no, Orion's just kind of, Orion tried to stick up for her and like, yeah, no, this wasn't her fault, but Darkwing wasn't really hearing it. So yeah, he decides to do the responsible thing and have a few words with him. Yeah, no, that was not thought out. He almost got punched in the face, and again, D16 was there to try and bail him out by punching him himself, but we'll get on to D16 later. And yeah, that kind of sums up Orion. Best of intentions, always does the right thing, optimistic, can blow up in other people's faces and his own. So yeah, him and D16, like, we get to hear a bit more about himself when he's talking with them. He really is not content with the minor day-to-day grind. He wants to be more, and unlike some people, he's willing to express it. He's always looking for a way out. And he thinks he's got his way out in the Iacon 5000. That's the name of the race, the Iacon 5000. And in the Icon 5000, he thinks he sees a way to prove that him and D16 and all the other miners are more than meets the eye. So he convinces D16, who is not a fan of all the susness, to break into a specific spot over the entirety of the race. And at first D16 is like, wow, you got us front row seats? Man, this is neat. And then D16 actually notices something. For some reason, Orion has brought jetpacks. And yeah, I think you get where this is going. Orion and D16 are suddenly jetpacking their way through the entire race. And they actually make it pretty far. They actually get to first place, in fact. However, D16 ends up hurting his leg. And of course, since they've gotten this far, even if he hated the idea, they're actually close to winning. So D16's like, go on without me, man. Just go, win. But that's not how Orion works. So yeah, Orion goes back, picks up D16, and it looks like they might still win first place. Nope. Mirage passes them at the last second. Oh, or rather, Chromio with the Mirage-like design. I forgot they changed that. So yeah, they get past at the last second, and D16 solo Sully, but Orion's still second place will be good, and then because they're sitting there conversing, yeah, they don't get second place. At all. Or third, or yeah, they flunk. So naturally, D16 is still being negative, but Orion's still kind of he's just kind of looking on the bright side of things. Hey, that was fun, and we did a good job. Let's not be hostile. And yeah, at that point, Sentinel Prime shows up, and we get to just see a bit of how Orion interacts with Sentinel. D16 is obviously still really hyped up with Sentinel. He's really just kind of I'll get into D16. Let's just say he's a Megatron. He does just say he's a Sentinel fan. Orion is also a Sentinel fan because pretty much everyone on Cybertron is a Sentinel fan, but he's visibly less so. He's more restrained in how he handles Sentinel. So yeah, the Orion's kind of just, and Orion takes Sentinel's a conversation with them where he basically offers them the chance to be PR agents. He takes that as a bit of a win because it is a step up. And then when things are looking like they're finally looking up for those two, Darkwing. Yeah, Darkwing did not forget about their little incident at all. So yeah, they get tossed straight into the sub-level 50, where most people don't even know sub-level 50 even exists. And yeah, it looks like yet another Orion Pax 500 IQ plan has blown up in their faces, as D16 points out angrily. Orion's still trying to look on the bright side of things, obviously, yeah, no, we'll figure this out, it'll work, we'll find a way out. And yeah, that's when they meet Bumblebee. And it's at that point, they end up bumping into exactly what they need. A message from Alpha Trion with his last known location, aka exactly what they need to find him. So naturally, Orion immediately jumps on this and is oh yeah, this is another way to get back up there. Think about it. Could you imagine what it would be if we could just simply go to Sentinel, say we found the Matrix, we found where the other primes were, mission achieved. Yeah, no, he's immediately on top of it, just super excited, super his ambition immediately flares up. That's one of the best things about Ryan in this movie. He does not let failure stop him, at all. He just doesn't quit. So yeah, I could go. I'm just gonna skip all that for all those in between stuff for the next video, because that's plot. But let's just say, yeah, we finally get to him meeting Alpha Trion, and Alpha Trion dropping the bombshell that Sentinel Prime, he's trash. He's pure evil. He betrayed all the primes and got them jumped. So yeah, no. Obviously, that shakes all their worldviews, but I would say that Orion is generally the one who bounced back the fastest for sure. The instant he realized what he was seeing, like, the minute he saw, like, Sentinel Prime, the Unique Renaissance, the footage of the evidence, like, his first thought wasn't, what is Sentinel going to do to us, like D16's was. The question is, what is going to happen to Sentinel? Like, how do we stop him? How do we stop all of this? He's not thinking about, like, is it a realistic expectation? He's not thinking about, oh, no, Sentinel's about to kill all of us to keep this secret shut. He's like, okay, we're gonna stop Sentinel, but it's a matter of how. And that's different from D16 in a major way that I'm gonna bring up during the D16 section. But yeah, so Alphatron gives them T-Cogs and the evidence that they need to, actually take down Sentinel. And, Optimus, like, Orion is purely, like, of the opinion that all they need to do to solve all this is just get the information to Icon citizens. Because at the end of the day, Orion is the type of person who believes in the goodness of people. He believes that, like, most people, if they just saw Sentinel's evil, that they would be on their side and join them. Like, he's an optimist, like I said. So yeah, things just keep on going, like with Orion. He just doesn't stop. He doesn't take a break. He just keeps on going for the sake of making things better. And that really is interesting when we start getting into how he interacts with D16 after the big reveal. Because Orion's not stupid. He can see exactly what's going on with D16. The minute that he had that conversation with D16, and his answer to, so you don't want to stop Sentinel was, no, I want to kill him, that was immediately a red flag. So, yeah, and then after that, things just kept on getting worse with, like, him refusing to let go of, like, the map and the information. So, yeah, no, it was just red flag on top of red flag on top of red flag. And we get a brief moment when they're discussing how they're going to deal with Sentinel, where Orion and D16 have a brief conversation. Orion, like I may have already mentioned, Orion wanted to, talk to the people of Iacon. He had full faith that if they just got the information out there to the people of Iacon, that they just revealed the dirtbaggery of Sentinel Prime, all would be well. All would work out. Things would be perfect. But D16 by this point is just, he's not really feeling in a trusting mood. He's just kind of gone, like, he's lost, like, pretty much all confidence in other people. And he's like, yeah, no, these people, like, they really just, they look up to Sentinel, like, they basically were like, yeah, no, like, there's no chance that they believe us. And, like, Orion's just like, you gotta have trust. And, yeah, no, D16 goes off on him. He's just like, I trusted Sentinel, we trusted Sentinel, and guess what? He was trash. He betrayed us all. Like, he was a monster. Like, I'm not trusting anybody. I can't trust anybody anymore. I'm not trusting any leaders. Like, none of that. I'm not trusting anybody ever again. The only person I can trust in this world is, and then they get Taste. But I think we all know the answer was almost certainly going to be him. Now, some people think that the answer is going to be you, which I don't believe necessarily goes with how his arc had been turning out and did turn out, but I understand why at that point some people might believe it. Like, that's fair. But yeah, no, Orion he's seeing D16 just slowly spiral downhill, and all he can really do is watch. And this is like this starts to really show when they're captured by the Cybertronian High Guard and have to deal with Starscream and his spiel about the strength of one bot over another. And then Starscream, like, literally listened to Orion's idea of, like, uniting Cybertron against Sentinel, and was like, yeah, no, you're an idiot. Like, get that naive, like, optimistic garbage out of my way. The only thing that matters is the strength of one bot over another. And, yeah, no, like, while Starscream was speaking all this, D16 was listening. And while he did agree with the philosophy, what he didn't agree with was Starscream's actions. And Starscream's actions were mainly just a bunch of hit-and-run guerrilla warfare tactics, while he kind of just sat there, like, as Cybertron was, starving. And D16 is like, yeah, no, enough of that. I'm not a fan of like your cowardice just hiding here talking a big game and like really you're trying to puff yourself up while you're doing nothing. And so a fight ensues, which D16 actually ends up winning. But as he's beating them up, he starts to hear the chants of the crowd, and things get a little heated. And yeah, no, Orion's just watching D16 just mercilessly beat the crap out of Starscream like a savage brutality to him. But like, even so, things seem to have some level of like restraint until D16 unlocks his trademark fusion cannon. And then things are getting a little too heated. Yeah, no, first Starscream started out willing to talk that game like, yeah, no, tough bot, but now everyone's just like, whoa, like, wait, I'm with you, like, yeah, no, like, things have gotten a little too far. So obviously Ryan's like, yo, chill, like D16, he's cool, he's beaten, like, you've won, you let him go, man. And yeah, no, like, D16 actually does let him go, and then says this. You guys have just witnessed the last act of mercy, like the last time I will ever show mercy. As Orion's just watching on in horror, as he's basically just completely by this point, his transformation's already like gotten pretty deep, like, and his transformation is near complete, and Orion's just watching in horror as like the same homie who died just that day he was talking with about like, you know, Megatron's Prime stickers is just completely going off the deep end and like talking about like the like just overthrowing the government, which again, like in this situation, it's I understand like that specific part, but like yeah, no, he's just going full on like might makes right, like brutality, like we're gonna get revenge, and it's just Orion's getting pretty concerned. And yeah, no, he's just really scared about like what is happening to his friend. But before they could really look into the consequences of this, Arachnid shows back up and captures everybody. And during the ensuing fight with all the Sentinel's goons and the High Guard, their evidence gets destroyed. And this is when we see Orion's low point during this movie, because at this point things are just falling apart on like a level that he could never even fathom. Yeah, no, like his best friend is slowly just losing himself to hatred. His like the only piece of evidence that he had to actually try and convince Cybertron that Sentinel Prime was trash is gone. It's gone, and he's never getting it back. Yeah, no, things are just looking really bad, and like they're only getting worse. Yeah, no, he also thinks that D16 is about to get executed because like, come on, Sentinel's not letting them live. Yeah, and Bumblebee. So yeah, like at this point, Orion just kind of hit rock bottom, and he's almost thinking of giving up. But then he gets a little bit of a pep talk from Lita, and we have to see how Orion's perceived from the same from her perspective. Like, and remember, this is the same character who Orion's like behavior completely trashed the life of earlier in the movie, even like though like all these revelations have occurred. So she kind of just breaks down how she perceives him. Yes, his plans can be stupid and have like consequences, but like that his attitude of just things can be better, his naive optimism is one of the best thing. It's like the best thing about him. Because, like, that's the type of attitude that causes change. It's the type of attitude that makes things better. So, yeah, no, like, she manages to get Orion, like, get back on his feet and actually, you know, prepare to make a difference. So, yeah, no, like, he talks to the High Guard with the leader backing him up, and he basically states his plan. Hey, we're gonna storm Sentinel Prime's tower. We are going to bring him to justice, and we're gonna save all our captured friends. And he's like, obviously the High Guard's like, whoa, we don't have nearly enough numbers for something like that. Like, we're the guys, but Sentinel had a lot more guys. And he's like, you know what? I've got that covered. And he does. What he does is actually pretty good. So he goes back to the mines, like, you know, the mines where he's worked the entire life, the mines where he has all those people like who are just in the same situation he was in, And yeah, no, the first thing he sees is a familiar sight. Darkwing bullying a miner and just being complete trash to them, except it's gotten even worse. Before, Darkwing was just a general jerk, but now Sentinel's pushing them harder and Darkwing's being a jerk. And Darkwing's like, get back in the mines. Sentinel Prime wants more energon, so get back in the mines or I'll make you. And we get to see exactly how Orion handles the situation. With his usual tact and finesse, he punches him straight in the face. Yeah, no, that was satisfactory, not gonna lie. And we get to see a little bit of, we get to see how Orion is seen by by the miners who've known him his entire life. They're all shocked because, yeah, no, Orion has completely changed. Like, he's changed physically, and yet he hasn't changed at all where it matters. And we get to just see how Orion interacts with them. It's a really neat compare and contrast with how D16 interacts with them. Because, okay, so, yeah, no, when Orion actually goes back to the miners, one of the first ones he interacts with is Jazz. The one who he survived, who he saved. The one who, kind of got him on this wild ride. Yeah, no, it's a really nice callback, because, we get to see it, Jazz, looking up at, it was wholesome. It was wholesome as all get out, I'm not gonna lie. But yeah, no, all the miners just kind of have to, look at little Orion. Orion, the one who was just always, who they're used to always being the goofy friend who got in trouble, that they hung at, that, they all knew, and look at him. Look at how he's changed. He's matured, but he's the same Orion. They have a deep personal connection with him because they've been doing this for a while. They all know each other's names and everything. And Orion ends up revealing to them what he's learned, over this last day. Because they're wondering, oh, Orion, why are you so buff? So what happened? We were told you were dead. So, yeah, no, he reveals Sentinel Prime has been lying to you all. And in this moment, we really get to see the big difference between him and D16 and how they get an army. Because here Orion just kind of, he acts very human. He's very open with them. He feels like he's feeling relatable. He behaves like he's just another one of them. Yeah, he's grown 20 feet, which, I get that's not much in terms of that. He's grown, he's double his size, and yeah, no, now he's got T-Cog and all this buff, these weapons and nonsense. But at the end of the day, he's still Orion, and that's what really gets them. They know him, like I said. And so he goes into what I must admit is one of the best heroic speeches I've heard from an Optimist. Because he starts out yeah, no, I know how this sounds from me. Saying that Sentinel's a liar, and being I know I'm not exactly the most normal of miners. I know I was never exactly the most focused, but look, as you can tell, things have changed. So yeah, like I told you, I went to the surface and I learned some dark truths here. Every single one of us, all of us, we were all born with T-Cogs. And Sentinel stole them from us before we even came online. The moment we were formed, he took them out of our chests. He literally tore the ability to decide our future away from us. And then he goes into, he goes into discussing that with them. He's well, Sentinel has tried to take away your right to make choices, but that's not going to keep going on. I'm offering you a choice right now. Because at the end of the day, this is important. This is a choice. And it's earlier in the movie, D16 said he kind of wished that he could have lived in ignorance and not learned this, because he can't go back now. But here Orion is offering these miners the same choice. He straight up says to their face, yeah, if you want to, you can just keep on saying nothing's wrong. You can go on and work a 23rd mining shift and just die in these mines. I'm not going to stop you. If you don't want to go for this, feel free. Or You can stand up with me. You can fight against Sentinel with me. We can work together and make things better. Because again, this is a really good speech. He says then, like, he quotes the same thing that Alpha Trion told him and his friends earlier in the movie. What defines the Transformer is not the cog in his chest, but the spark that resides in their core. He's basically saying it's the heart. It's the heart that matters here. Like, he literally says it's like the spark, he literally says it's a spark that gives you the will to make your world better, and that's something the Sentinel can never take from you. We get to see here that no matter where he comes from, like whether he's Orion or Optimus, that benevolence, that optimism, that genuine will to just like change the world and make it a better place. That's the core of who his character is. He's like, and we get to see, like, he discusses that, like, this isn't gonna be easy. He straight up said, like, if they want to, like, defeat Sentinel and take control of their destinies, like, they're gonna have to fight for it, and it might be rough. But the time has come. It's time for them all to stand up together and like fight together as one, as he put it. Because like Sentinel may have the guns, he may have the goons, but like Sentinel knows full well that not even he can fight all of the miners and all the High Guard and all of Cybertron if they actually figured out what shenaniganery was going on. So yeah, Orion's just really trying to. He's just handling this really well in terms of like, we're seeing Optimus before Optimus. Like, we're getting to see who he is as a character in this moment, and it's perfect because like he's not perfect, nobody is, but this is kind of like what an ideal leader should be. The type of a leader who like is genuinely coming from like a pure of sorts like intention, like which is just make the world a better place and do good. So yeah, like I'm a fan of that, and how that contrasts with D16 and his speech, I'm gonna have to really get into that on D16 section, but that's for later. So yeah, Orion rallies the troops. Orion rallies his miners, and that's good because right as the miners arrive, the High Guard was just about to, get overwhelmed by the infinite numbers of goons the Sentinel kept throwing at them. But the miners showed up. The miners held them off along with the High Guard, and Orion gets to free D16 and meet up with Alita and B. And, because B is in prison too, but that's. And we get to see Orion and the others prepare for their big showdown with Sentinel, because, you're expecting a boss battle at this point, because, Sentinel's not going down easy. And immediately he's like, this just shows his character. Even when there's, missiles flying everywhere and, Sentinel's, trying to kill them, Orion still feels the need, while he's ducking for covers, he'll, hiding behind covers, who, be like, it's over, Sentinel. You can no longer hide the truth from Cybertron. He's still trying to kind of, talk things out. He's still trying to, and it's he kind of knows deep down, he knows that Sentinel's not really going to give up, but, he's still trying to speak as though Sentinel is a reasonable individual who can be talked with. It doesn't work out. And they try to fight Sentinel, but since Sentinel has the cog of a prime, the strongest prime, it does not go well, and they're he's able to fight all of them at once. So Orion's this isn't working, and then that's the thing. He never wanted fighting to be the plan in the first place, so he goes and immediately, in an Orion-esque way, thinks of a better way, a peaceful way to get what they want. So he's we need proof. Because that's the thing. If we had proof, I genuinely believe that we could get everyone on our side. But the proof is destroyed. So what do? We need a witness. We need somebody who's seen it all. We need Arachnid. Because, hey, when Arachnid was trying to kill me earlier, she said she could see everything. With her eyes literally, everywhere. So yeah, go get that. After an epic boss battle between Alita 1 and Arachnid, Alita actually ended up taking out Arachnid, and they actually managed to get her memory banks, which they forced to be shown to all of Cybertron. Everyone sees every single thing that Sentinel Prime has ever done. Every villainous monologue he gave to our gang, every single conversation that he had with D16, where he confessed to murdering Megatronus in cold blood and stealing his T-Cog, his conversation with the Quintessons that day, where he confirmed that he was working with Cybertron's greatest enemies, and that he was working the miners to death to pay off their debt, to pay off his debt to them, so that he could live on Cybertron like a king, but on the blood of all the other primes. Yeah, no, Arachnid was there for all of it. She was his ultimate lackey. She saw everything, and that did Sentinel in. That did Sentinel in well and good. All of Cybertron saw all of his evil, and instantaneously, just as Orion thought they would, they turned on him. All of Cybertron, T-Cogs or not, they all decided that Sentinel Prime was no good. And yeah, that's obviously Orion's like, okay, mission accomplished. We pulled it off, gang. We did it, gang. Good job, guys. We've won, guys. Sentinel's done. So, but yeah, no, things aren't that simple, because you see, while Orion and the others were getting Arachnid and the information they needed, D16 decided to stay behind and fight Sentinel. And his purple gets showing, but Sentinel had Megatronus' T-Cog, and he was just too strong. He ended up beating D16, and yeah, no, he was like 5 seconds from sending D16 to the Allspark, when obviously they put him on blast, and yeah, no, that gave D16 all the opportunity he needed. So yeah, no, now D16 is about to repay everything that Sentinel did, all the good kindness that he showed, with a fusion cannon to the face. However, obviously Orion can't just let that happen, so he stops him. And obviously D16's pretty hurt by this. So yeah, no, he's pretty upset. Like, bro, what are you doing? Why did you do that? And Orion's just like, bro, are you serious? Are you serious right now? We can't start out a new age of peace and happiness by executing the old leader in the street. It's already over. Like, it's all of Iacon, all Cybertron, everybody knows what Sentinel is. Like, we've already won. But nah, D16 is not hearing that. D16 is not hearing that. He's like, bro, he deserves to die. Why can't you see this? Like, everyone knows. Well, so do I. He deserves to suffer. Do you remember everything he did to us? And here, Orion says something that I get what he meant to say, but he said the worst possible thing to the worst possible guy. Don't be like Sentinel. Yeah. D16 was not convinced by that. He ends up kicking Orion in the face, going to Sentinel, and he's preparing to fire his fusion cannon point blank when Orion decides that he's gonna be a hero and takes a bullet for Sentinel Prime. Now, Orion didn't do this because he didn't think Sentinel Prime was worthy of death. And I think that's the thing that a lot of people need to understand. Orion was never saying that Sentinel Prime wasn't worthy of death, that he didn't deserve to die. He just didn't want it to be done like this, mob justice style. and he didn't want his close friend, who's been slowly slipping into the dark side the entire movie, to be the one to execute him. He was scared of like what would happen if D16 went through with that last act, because he'd already been slipping so far this entire time. So naturally, D16 is horrified that he just shot his friend and grabs him, but like you can already see he's really struggling with what just happened. Like, what? Why? Why did you do that? Why? Like he like you could hear the amount of rage and frustration that's going on here, and Orion like isn't really in the right state of mind to try and defuse this situation at all. So all he can really say is like, D, no. And that wasn't what that wasn't what D needed to hear right then. So yeah, like he struggles for a second, like really just trying to decide what he's gonna do next, and then he drops Orion, just straight up drops him into the pit to die. And yeah, this is the worst possible outcome for Orion that like could have occurred. Everything that he's just tried to achieve has now spectacularly blown up in his face. Like, he took a bullet for Sentinel. She thought he was trying to save his brother. Instead, all that did was push him over the edge and guarantee what happened next. It was just ridiculous. It was just unfortunate, really. So yeah, no, he dies, and all that happens like, yeah, no, it's a really sad scene, honestly, because you get to see Alita and Bea's faces as like they just watch Orion fall, and obviously, again, as I said, he failed. He failed to save D16 because, like, right after that, D16 achieves his goal. But all hope is not yet lost, because as Orion falls into Cybertron, he falls into Cybertron's core, where he is greeted by the 13 Primes. And the 13 Primes decide to talk to him and straight up say, hey, homie, you're worthy. I'm just gonna say it. You're worthy of the Matrix. Like, yeah, no, Primus and us, we've you're definitely the guy. Like, your nobility, like, your optimism, it's all like, you are the guy. So yeah, Primus just straight up gives him the Matrix of leadership. And at the same time that Orion is being given like Cybertron's greatest honor as a response to his like nobility, D16 is taking the already stolen TCOG of somebody who died trying to do the right thing and is currently like rooting for Orion and becoming the world's greatest villain. So yeah, as Orion gets the Matrix, he starts like fixing himself. Like, his body gets upgraded. He gets all the classic Prime buffs, and we get to hear Arise Optimus Prime. And with that, the legend is made. He comes back to Cybertron's surface. Well, not Cybertron's surface. He comes back to Icon, and the newly renamed Megatron's face. Oh boy, Megatron's face. He was not pleased that Orion got the Matrix. But even then, Orion is still trying to talk things out with D16 to the end. He's saying stuff like, we could have built the future together. He does not want things to end this way. He still doesn't want things to end this way. But Megatron just is not hearing it. Like, so, yeah, they fight. And it's really interesting to see their fighting styles. The Orion fights with like skill beyond like anything that he's shown up to this point. He fights with skill and tactfulness, while Megatron fights with almost how should I put it? He fights like a wild animal, and it's really interesting to see like how their fighting styles clash. But yeah, no. In the end, when Megatron finally seems to be getting him in a corner, he actually manages to tap into the power of the Matrix and unlocks his classic Energon axe. And yeah, the title of battle is just completely flipped after that. So he beats Megatron. He then gets jumped by Starscream, Shockwave, and Soundwave, and proceeds to fold all three of them simultaneously. Megatron gets back up and starts blasting, but yeah, no. Orion, like Optimus, just completely no-sells it and cuts his weapon in half. And yeah, the fight's over. And you can see in Optimus's face during the scene, he looks like he's about to cry. He looks absolutely crushed at what's going on. Like, this entire day has been like an absolute disaster for him. This has been the worst day of his life by far. And now he, like, the two homies who were just talking about their future like 2 days ago are now just, like, they've just fought to the death. And his brother is now sitting on the ground looking like an abomination, like with a fusion cannon cut in half and hatred in his heart. Things could not have gone worse. So, and then at this point, yeah, no, Optimus really is just speaking like Alpha Trion gave us the power to like change our world for the better, which Orion has been saying was his goal the entire movie. And you chose this. You chose this, man. You betrayed Cybertron, you betrayed Cybertron's citizens, and you betrayed me. And when he says that, you can hear how, like, he visibly looks like if he could cry, he would. He felt so hurt when D16 took that last leap off the slippery slope. When he dropped him and left him to die. Like, he was so pained by that. And, like, yeah, it's so obvious. And yet, despite it all, he still doesn't kill him because his morals haven't changed. And if anything, they've been doubled because absolutely would he not kill his brother in this type of situation. But he already knows exactly what the situation is now between them. And he cannot allow, he can't allow him to stay near him any longer. He can't allow him to stay in the city any longer. He's too far gone. And so he banishes him from Iacon. He tells him to take the High Guard, take his followers, and leave. He can't come back. And this is just when their friend, anything that could have possibly been, this is just when you really see, the last remnants of their friendship completely and utterly shatter. Because, D16's face at this, I'm gonna have to wait till D16 section and get into all this, but, man. And even as he's saying this, even as he's saying to, Megatron, that, he'll never come back, that, they are no longer friends, he is no longer welcome, he still says, it didn't have to be this way. He still is, she's still struggling so much with the way things turned out. And then all he can do is just watch as the guy who was his friend 2 days ago just speaks to him with such hatred and leaves. But at this point, there's nothing he can do except move on and keep doing what he wants to do in the first place. Build a better world. So yeah, he immediately begins with trying to talk to Alita and B about, figuring out where to go from here, setting up Cybertron, setting up Cybertron's new government, like he just immediately gets about his business. He immediately gets about to what he said he was going to do from the start, and just immediately tries to fix what has been broken. Starting with giving all the miners their T-Cogs back. Yep. So all the T-Cogs just come straight up from Cybertron's core, and Primus gives them all their T-Cogs back. And it's a really nice scene as we get to see so many Autobots, both that we've already seen in the movie and to be, just get all their classic appearances, got all their little unique traits and characteristics about them. It's a really wholesome moment. It really just is uplifting. It really gets it really gives the feeling that even if it was a bittersweet victory, it was a victory. They won. Things are going to be better. And with that, the movie ends on Optimus giving one message out to the Quintessons in space. Even then, he is not actively hostile towards them. He is simply speaking as it is. If you start something, there's going to be something. But if you don't start anything, that's fine. He's basically just saying, if you want to go to war with us, then it's going to be war, but it doesn't have to be. And I like that. Because he just, in the end, it's all one character. It's all one perfectly, it's not perfectly, but it's all one wonderfully written character. So, yeah. The Optimus Prime, the Orion Pax in this movie was a masterpiece. He really felt so human. We get to see everything we have to see all his traits as Orion just be amplified as Optimus, and we get to see him slowly mature from a person who doesn't really think things through as much, and a person who kind of doesn't really think of the consequences of his actions, to the strong, noble leader that we all expect him to be. This Optimus' transition was seamless, and it was a pleasure to see. It was a pleasure to see on screen. But it's time to get serious to the main event of this video. We've spent long enough talking about Orion. I think it's time we finally got to the other side of the coin. Orion's brother, his best friend, the tragic person who could have been a hero and ended the villain, D16, or more precisely, Megatron. So yeah, where do I even begin with this, man? There is so much. I think I'm gonna have to just handle it the same way I did Orion and start at the beginning. So, when we first see D16 in this movie, he's actually in the middle of saving Orion from getting, beaten to a pulp for making it into the records room. And immediately you get a great idea of his dynamic and things. So, yeah, D16 immediately, saves Orion before proceeding to kind of, chew him out on his stupidity for breaking into the records room again. However, he is very easily paid off with a Megatronus Prime sticker to chill out with them. So chill out about this whole thing. And we kind of just get to see, their general, brothers who, kind of just talk to each other. D16 kind of had, the older brother dynamic, at the start of this. He's exasperated with, his younger brother's shenanigans, his goofy best friend's shenanigans. But at the end of the day, he's got his back, and, they still do each other, right, and when it matters. So, yeah, we get to see D16 kind of doing his thing. We see, we get to see him do the mining thing. And then, the same things happen as I mentioned in Orion's part. Jazz gets crushed. They save Jazz. That has consequences. And after getting Elita 1 fired, and Orion getting pretty mad at that, and Darkwing being a general jerk, Orion tries to pick a fight with Darkwing. Darkwing tries to beat the stuffing out of Orion. And of course, who's there to save Orion but D16? So D16 grabs like Darkwing's fist, stops him from socking him, then naturally socks Orion, like allow me, and tries to just de-escalate the situation. But Darkwing, being a ginormous jerk, decides, you know what, I don't want to de-escalate the situation, and socks D16 straight in the face. I hope that doesn't come back to bite him. So yeah, in the next scene we get a bit of really interesting, like, get more character info. And we get to see a bit more of their general worldview. And yeah, it's really interesting, because this scene, Orion wants to enter the Icon 5000, that's the next day, and, you know, try and show, like, that the world, that there's more to these miners than just being miners who have to mine Energon all day. But D16 is D16 is like, no, like, I'm serious, it's like, nah, we're not doing this, like, there's no need for, like, to go that far, like, D16 in this movie is really just, he wants to stay in his comfortable little, like, let me put it that way, he doesn't necessarily want to stay in his comfortable little box, but he's accepted that his comfortable little box is where he is, and, like, he doesn't want to make the risk of going farther. And that shows. However, with Orion being his friend, that isn't really an option for him. Because Orion straight up dupes him and ends up getting them into the Icon 5000 race anyway. So, yeah. They almost win the race, actually. Shocker. But D16 gets tripped up. And since he's already in this at this point, even though he didn't want to be, he's like, hey, we're at the finish line, abandon me and achieve your goal. Like, we already have an opportunity to achieve something. Do not, like, cut the dead weight. And that's actually pretty important in terms of, like, the way his character is written in this movie. However, Orion does not cut the dead weight. Orion actually decides to save him, and in doing so, they lose, and then go from first place to second place to way below second place. And after recovering in the infirmary, Megatron, well, D16, is pretty upset about this. He's mad. He's mad because, like, they didn't achieve anything. Like, he got forced into this. Like, he's just a bit irked. And then they actually meet Sentinel Prime, and we get to see D16 be a giant fanboy. We get to see how excited he is about Sentinel. He's eating up every word that comes out of this man's mouth. And yeah, no, he's pretty excited when Sentinel actually gives him a heads up on gives him basically a verbal high five on how they accomplish things. Like, he actually is excited. He has hope for the future in this moment. Like, the way Sentinel is gives him hope in a hopeless situation, like in a hopeless life, basically. And then Darkwing shows up just when he's starting to turn around and hey, maybe Orion might not be wrong on the way we should be going about things. Maybe Orion is right that we should try and move up for things like this to happen. Darkwing, all that effort, all that hope, they get sent to sub-level 50. And immediately D16 switches on a dime. He goes immediately right back to, this is all your fault. None of this would have happened, Orion, if it weren't for you and your planning and your Icon 5000 and he immediately turns on him. So immediately Orion's all right, let's find a way out of here. We can fix things. And he's like, nah, I'm just gonna stay here until Sentinel picks us up. He has to know better. He's not that naive. He just doesn't want to keep on risking his neck. But yeah, they end up meeting B, and B ends up knocking over the Math Alpha Trion, and naturally Orion's hey, if Sentinel was impressed with what we did earlier, imagine how impressed he'll be with us if we find the matrix of leadership and the other primes. And he's I know exactly what you're doing, and it's working. I'm in. So yeah, he is once again so suckered into one of these reckless Orion Pax plans, and they go to the surface. Which, yeah, no, more griping ensues, more chaos ensues, and eventually, they actually manage to get to Alpha Trion and the graveyard of the Primes. And this scene is actually pretty, like, sad, because, like, they just, like, get to see all the Primes, like, dead and wounded and like, offline, and immediately D16 walks up and goes straight to Megatronus' corpse. He touches his faceplate, and, like, man, Megatronus was massive. Like, he was huge. Like, all the Primes were. But, yeah, like, they wake up Alpha Trion, because, like, he somehow managed to stay online, and immediately this man starts throwing down information that will shatter their worldview forever and change the course of history, especially for D16. He reveals that Sentinel Prime is a traitor. He's a dirtbag, he's a coward, he's a liar, he's a fraud, he's nothing. He sold out all the Primes, he sold out all of Cybertron, and he made a deal with Cybertron's worst enemies. Now, naturally, immediately D16's like, nah, this can't be true. You gotta be lying. No, it can't be. But, like, he's basically pulling a full-blown Luke Skywalker from The Empire Strikes Back. He's just like, no! But, yeah, no. And, like, if you think things are bad already, they're just gonna get worse. Because they start, like, then Alpha Trion asks them why they don't have cogs. And they're like, we were born without cogs. And Alpha Trion drops the information. Yeah, no, everybody's born without cogs. So if you didn't have cogs, that must mean that Sentinel Prime tore them out. And that, like, D16 is just, he's really at this point. He's just taking hit after hit after hit to his worldview. He's just taking a beating right now, like, emotionally. And then it gets worse. Because Alpha Trion decides that, like, you know, it's probably best if you guys go see it, because, like, they notice the Quintesson ship hanging above them. And he's like, yeah, no, the only explanation, like, yeah, no, like, Sentinel made a bargain with the new rules of Cybertron, so, like, maybe you guys should go view, like, exactly what is going on, so you can, like, truly emotionally understand it. So, yeah, they go see, and D16 sees everything. He sees the Quintesson ship, he sees Sentinel kneel, he sees the shipments of trash open up and be revealed to be all that energy the miners have spent day after day after day mining. And he hears Sentinel explicitly say, like, oh yeah, I'm working mine as hard as I can, man. Like, we got triple, and then we're gonna have to triple the shifts. We're gonna have to make sure every Cybertronian knows no one rests like getting my energy on. Like, yeah, no, he's crushed. And this is where the slow but steady, like, complete unraveling of D16 begins. Like his eyes already in this scene slowly begin to shift. And that is just a foreshadowing of something far darker that will come down the line. So yeah, they return to Alpha Trion, and of D16 is just, he's an emotional wreck. He has no idea, like, exactly how to, like, process all this. Orion's like, you know what? I knew it all along. Like, things weren't adding up, things were off, things were sus. And, like, we kind of, like I said, like I may have mentioned in, like, the Orion section, we did see kind of, like, he was less, like, he saw, there were signs of that. But, like, immediately, like, D16 turns on him. It's like, this is all your fault. Like, I told you, we never should have got here. We should have just stayed. Like, we should have just stuck with the program. We should have just, like, we should have just listened. We should have just kept following protocol and, like, and I was like, bro, what are you talking about? Protocol doesn't matter. It matters to me, because nothing else would happen if I stayed in protocol. Now, I wouldn't have learned any of this. I would have been ignorant. I would have been, like, he's raging. He's raging because he can no longer like hide from the truth of Cybertron. He's like, this was just summarized by the next scene. Orion asks D16, so you don't want to stop Sentinel? And his response is, no, I want to kill him. And in this moment, we truly get to see the truth of D16. All that enthusiasm earlier, all that trust, all that trust in Sentinel Prime, Fall Protocol, all of it was purely a coping mechanism. Because in truth, D16 hated their situation and their lot in life just as much as Orion did. He might have hated it even more. However, unlike Orion, he didn't want to risk fighting. Because he was aware of their situation and their lot in life. And he understood how much they had to lose if any of what they tried failed too hard. He knew that, they had no power. They had no freedom. All that D16 has ever had in life is hope. Hope that, maybe if they just keep paying their dues, keep on working hard as miners, they'll be noticed and appreciated one day. And maybe, just maybe, long down the road, things will be better. But that hope has just been snatched straight through his fingers. The person he's devoted his entire life to, being loyal to and trusting and, hoping with is the most evil person that Cybertron has seen in billions of years. The entire system is completely and utterly rigged from the ground up. There is no hope of changing things the way things are now. And he makes that clear when he's talking to Orion. He straight up says, he wants to kill Sentinel, he wants to drag him in chains, he wants to expose him, and he wants to have him killed and suffering, but none of that actually matters. Because they're just miners. They have no T-Cogs. Sentinel took that from them too. They have no power, they have no proof, they have no authority, they have no options. Darkwing once said to the Alita 1 after they got her fired, these are miners with limited options, and now that they know the truth, they have none. D16 immediately puts his finger on it. There is no way that if Sentinel ever finds out what's going on, he's not going to silence them. And they have no way of resisting. As far as D16 is concerned, it's over. They're doomed. And then Alpha Trion decided, you know what? No. This isn't the way things are supposed to be. Primus gave you T-Cogs specifically so that you could express your ability to make choices. So, yeah, I'm not gonna just leave you guys be as is. And in this moment, he decides to give them the T-Cogs of his brothers and sister from the 13 original primes. Suddenly, everything has changed. Previously, they had no power, they had no proof, they had no options. Well, suddenly, they had the power of the strongest people to ever live on Cybertron. They have all the proof they could ever need handed directly from the Archivist Prime. And they have all the ability they need to make decisions and change their future. Immediately, D16 knows exactly what he wants to do with this power. He wants to fight. He has so much anger and hatred and rage inside him. He wants to fight. He wants to physically change the playing field. He wants to fight Sentinel Prime. And while all of the others want to do the same thing, D16 is different, and visibly so, and like how he wants to fight, and the way he chooses to express himself. And Alpha Trion noticed this. Like in one of the scenes, he visibly like looked at D16 as he was expressing what he would do if he had the power to actually like fight Sentinel Prime. But again, this is something that people don't really pick up on. Alpha Trion gave him a T-Cog anyway, because like it was never his place. It's not his place to decide who should and shouldn't get power from his perspective as a Prime. All Transformers was meant to have T-Cogs in the first place. So if he's giving any of them the ability to make their own choices, he's giving all of them the ability to make choices. And yeah, D16 is choosing to make like a pretty big choice right now. And so yeah, Sentinel's goons have now finally tracked them back to Alpha Trion, and Alpha Trion is like, okay, you guys need to leave. You can't handle this. You're not ready yet. And these are like, nah, we want to fight. Like, I want to fight with you. I want to fight these guys. And he's like, nah, and everyone's like, nah, we're not ready for this yet. We gotta go. And so they leave. And D16 is not happy about this, like, at all. But yeah, they leave. They figure out how to transform. They get into a brief fight, which they win, and D16 gets to taste of his first blood. And he's pretty excited about it. A little too excited, in fact. Yeah, he's concerningly excited about the fact that he just killed a man, but I'm sure that won't be anywhere negative. And they begin the trek back to Iacon. And D16 decides, hey, I think I'm gonna be the one carrying the info in the map. And Orion's like, are you sure, man? Like, he's like, no, I got this. And Orion's like, bro, like if you want, like, just, and then like this is really shows the shift. He just turns around, but his eyes are already darkened even more, and he just was like, I got this. And Orion's just like, okay then. Like, because Orion's not confrontational. He sees like the shift, but he's not gonna push on it. And so yeah, D16 just keeps on walking. And yeah, no, Orion's talking with D16, and you know, they're just discussing their plans for how they're gonna handle this whole situation once they get back to Iacon later on. Orion is fully of the belief that they can just get this proof out there, and and like tell the Cybertron will turn on Sentinel, because like Orion is the belief that like the vast majority of people are just good people. But D16 at this point has gotten way too pessimistic. He's like, yeah, no, like people there, like they like really like Sentinel, like they all trust him like with everything, just like I was a second news too, basically. And, like, he doesn't trust anyone, and like Orion's like, bro, you gotta have some trust. And he's like, I trust this Sentinel, man. I trust him with everything I had. I'm never trusting a supposed leader ever again. And like Orion's just slowly getting more and more concerned. And then D16 says this: there's only one person I can trust. And then he gets shot by a stun beam, and we didn't get to finish it. People seem to think that he was gonna say Orion here, but I feel like he was going to say himself, based on the rapid way he was devolving and his future philosophy that he was speaking on. So yeah, they get captured by the Cybertronian High Guard, and we're introduced to this universe's version of Starscream, who is just as much as an utter doofus and jerk as the other version of Starscream, but with the added bonus of this time, he's actually the original leader of what will become the Decepticons, and didn't start out as a giant dirtbag, like the same way most Starscreams don't start out as a complete dirtbag. He was part of the Cybertronian High Guard, got betrayed, yada yada yada, I explained it. And when Orion, like, is Alita and B, like, try to talk him out, try to talk with him, like, yeah, we're all on the same side then. You hate Sentinel, we hate Sentinel, we can unite Cybertron together. He's like, nah, that's a bunch of nonsense. Like, we don't need to, United Cybertron's a fool's dream. All that matters is the strength of one bot over another. Like, they're not going to take direct action or anything. And while Starscream's getting his big dramatic speech, D16 tries to get up and walk away. And that's if you know anything about Starscream, it's his ego. He could never accept that. So he gets mad, and D16 starts hitting him with hard truth. He calls him a giant coward who's afraid to face Sentinel. He says, like, he talks about how he's just kind of like holding on to all his own power, like pretending to like do anything of value, which not entirely inaccurate. And obviously Starscream's getting angry with this, like, oh, how dare you? Like, you don't get to leave the light, I get to leave, like, you're like who you think you are, and like, you're like, Starscream talking a big game, and D16 means D16, he hits last handless the only rational way he can think of, by headbutting him square in the teeth. And so, a fight begins. So, Starscream is an actual trained, like, member of the High Guard. So, he's got a lot of neat tricks, like, and he's actually a skilled fighter. He uses his jets, like, from his vehicle mode really well, like, it pins Megatron up. But Megatron fights in this... I've been saying Megatron, we're not there yet. D16 fights with such ridiculous savagery. Like, he doesn't fight like a human, or like he doesn't fight like an individual, like throwing fists. He fights like a wild animal. Like, he fights like with such brutality. Like, he doesn't, and like at first, like Shockwave tries to is about to stop him, but Soundwave blocks because like this is the way the High Guard works. Like, D16 is just pounding and pounding off Starscream's face, but then he stops for a second and realizes everyone in here except this, like the High Guard, is cheering for him. They are agreeing with his feelings. They're justifying him. They're pushing him to go further. They're like, yeah, no, they're condoning like his behavior. And this is where things really get problematic. Because after this, D16, like, he sees all this. He's like, oh, really? You guys want to see the strength of one bot over another? And he starts really well on Starscream. And Starscream's talking a good game. So, and, like, Starscream's, like, talking a good game. He's not, like, gonna just quit like a lot of Starscream would. So, D16 starts grabbing his throat and crushing it between his fingers. And even as Starscream's getting his voice box crushed, he's still talking smack. And at that point, D16 gets angry and winds up for another punch. And we finally get to see him bust out his trademark fusion cannon. Also known as the worst possible thing that could have happened in this moment. So, yeah, everybody's a little shocked at this. Orion's shocked and horrified. The High Guard's shocked. And, yeah, no, things have suddenly just went from 100 to 1,000 very fast. D16 immediately puts that barrel of that gun straight into Starscream's face and is threatening to fire and just blow his head right off. So Starscream at this point knows when enough's enough. Like, hey, man, I'm with you, man. I'm with you. Don't shoot. And Orion manages to talk him down, like, D, like, come on, D, let him go. Stop. And, yeah, D16 does let him go. He does make the right decision. And then we hear him say to the High Guard that they just witnessed him stowing Mercy for the last time ever. And yeah, no, that's already red flagsville. But yeah, then he starts talking to the High Guard, talking about like, hey, you can serve this little weak leader, like this little coward, this fraud, like, or you can stand with me. You can fight. You can rise up. You can yeah, you can like overthrow Sentinel. Like, we can just completely just do, like, yeah, no, he's really just going complete into that rule of the strong, like, fight, like violence is the answer to solving all the problems mentality. And what does the High Guard do about this? Do they say, no, this man is crazy and he must be taken down? Do they, like, reject his pure violence mentality? No. They do something far worse. They cheer for him. They cheer for him, and they make very clear that they are fully on board with all of insanity. They actually support it. They encourage it. They're encouraging all of what's about to happen next. And that's the last thing that D16 needs right now. Because he's never had any power in his entire life. And suddenly he's getting way too much, way too fast. And all with a heaping dose of hatred. And it's all spiraling downhill. And Orion seeing it in real time. But what really shocked Orion is when he actually looks at D16's eyes during this. They were yellow at the beginning of the movie, which is already a big shift from general Cybertronians like blue eyes. But now, like, they've been slowly darkening a bit, like, as throughout scenes, but now they've gone full on dark orange. And like Orion's seeing this, and he's getting very concerned. But before he can even, like, begin to unravel the absolute mess that is, like, D16's mind right now, yeah, Sentinel found him. Again. And his goons immediately begin to attack the High Guard. So naturally, D16 begins, like, boxing up everybody in his path. He's like, complete a tank. Literally. He's just smashing everybody. But before he can actually get anywhere, he's immediately attacked by Arachnid and defeated. Because Arachnid is just the worst. So yeah, he gets captured and the High Guard gets captured. A significant chunk of it at least. And he gets to see Sentinel Prime face to face for the second time in this movie. So yeah, this is a big scene for him. Because like he's finally getting to meet face to face once again the person who destroyed his life, destroyed his future, and lied to his face about it. And Sentinel is just completely like, he's finding this whole situation amusing. He's just like, oh wow, amusing, but also disappointing because like he did have plans for D16, preferably like in terms of like being a very good miner. He's like, oh wow, this is a shame. D16, you were at the top of your sector. Like, yeah, he must have to point that one out. Yeah, no, D16, like back when he was a miner, like and like still like buying the Sentinel like Bolonesium, he was the best of the best miner wise. Like, and now he's about to be marked a traitor. And when he hears that, he's infuriated. Like, I'm not the traitor. You're the traitor. You're the traitor. Like he's like, and then I was like, no, you're the traitor. You are the reason that I couldn't find the Matrix. You are the ones who made a deal with the Quintessons to sabotage everything and destroy Cybertron. He's just literally saying straight at D16's face, yeah, I'm the villain, but that doesn't matter. And so, as far as Cybertron's about to know, you're the villain. Like, your life's about to be completely destroyed. Again. Like, he's just so upset about this. And, yeah. Like, Bone Beast is like, you can't do that. Like, that's not the truth. And, like, Thanos like, the truth? The truth? Out here, the truth is whatever I want it to be. And, like, while he's doing this little, like, power trip, everyone's been forced onto their knees, like, before Sentinel Prime. And D16, like, even with his, like, arms and leg, like, even with his arms handcuffed, stands to his feet. And, like, it's not like he actually had any power this time. Like, he's back to the same position he was previously, basically. But, like, he can't, now that he's gone through everything, he can't just go back, like, to kneeling. Like, that's not how it works. Like, and so, yeah, Sentinel finds this entire thing amusing. This little pay to find, he's like, oh, wow, are you feeling confident, D16? I'm not scared of you. Like, I'm not scared of you. I'm never kneeling for you again. Like, you know why, Sentinel? Because I have nothing left to lose. you took everything from me. And that when someone says the words, I had nothing left to lose because you took everything from me, that's already a big old red flag, and you should go in the opposite direction. Because, like, the saying is, like, you should always fear somebody who has nothing left to lose in that scenario. Like, but Sentinel's kind of just laughing off, like, you're right, I did take everything from you. And straight up knocks him back on his back. And then he notices the little pathetic, like, Megatronus Prime sticker that, like, D16 has. It's like, oh, Megatronus Prime, that's cool, Like, oh, I bet you know, of course you'd think, like, you'd want to have him on yourself. Like, Megatronus Prime was the biggest, the strongest, the most dangerous of the Primes. Which is why after I murdered him, I took his T-Cog for myself. Oh, and that ticked D16 off. Like, he was not handling that. He was like, he was way better than you'll ever be. He was mad. And Sentinel is, if you haven't gotten the message yet, Sentinel is pure evil. So he's like, oh, you want to wear, like, you think that wearing Megatron's Prime space is, like, better than wearing mine? Alright, so yourself, let's make it official then. Let's make it something that, like, let's just make it so that it's not as hard to remove as a sticker. So, yeah. He literally burns the face of Megatronus Prime straight into D16's chest. Like, while he, like, just burns it into him right there. And, like, just leaves, like, he literally scarred Megatron. He literally scarred D16. Like, not for life, because, like, he might as well have, like, in terms of how D16 was feeling in that moment. He did it metaphorically, and then as far as D16 feels, in that moment, he did it literally. So, yeah. D16, like, he's been humiliated. He's been tortured. He's gonna die. It's looking like it's over for him. Again, but this time he's already gone through so much, like, and like all that hatred he has, it's already been released. He can't just quirk it back. Like, he literally just, like, he can go back to simply. He can never go back to kneeling. He can never go back to hiding. He can never go back to, like, staying unheard. He can never go back. He's seen too much. He's done too much. He has too much hatred. He can't go back. Even if it means he's gonna die, like, a painful death, he's not going back to dying. Like, he's not going back to dying by mind. So, like, he's not going back to dying, like, by silence. Like, he's not going back to simply suffering, like, because he didn't say what he felt he needed to say and do what he felt he needed to do. And so, yeah, despite being tortured, he stands right back up. And at that point, Sentinel decides, okay, yeah, no, he has to die. And this man has the sheer audacity to say, what a shame, you really were a great miner. Yeah, I'm happy that, like, he got to say that, like, the High Guard busted in at that exact moment. Because the sheer audacity, but yeah, trust me, he won't get far. So yeah, and naturally the High Guard shows up, like, Orion and the Miners show up, and it's a free-for-all war. So yeah, and then that was D16, Orion, Alita, and B versus Sentinel Prime. Boss fight. So yeah, they were talking, like, I thought I covered a lot of this in Orion, but so yeah, they try to fight Sentinel, but he's too strong. So Orion tries to decides he's gonna go get Arachnid with the others and, like, you know, get her information so that all Cybertron can see his original plan, the peaceful plan, the plan that makes the most sense. But D16 is like, nah, I'm about to get that. I'm about to, like, run. I'm about to fight Sentinel Prime. I'm about to run hands with Sentinel. Not, like, after everything that just happened, like, there's no way I'm gonna let him get out of this. So yeah, they go, like, deal with they go deal with Arachnid while D16 deals with Sentinel, his goons. And D16 puts up a pretty good fight for a little bit, but Sentinel has Megatronus Prime's cog, so yeah, he gets defeated. And naturally, Sentinel's mocking D16 the entire time, like, what's the matter, D16? Rise up, D16. So yeah, this is all bad. Like, D16 is about to get killed, like, but right in the nick of time, Arachnid's memories get played to all of Iacon, and everything Sentinel Prime's ever done is exposed. And at the fact that Sentinel Prime just had his entire life, all his hard work, all his deals exposed, and all of it shattered, he is so distracted by the fact that Cybertron will no longer adore him that he turns his back to D16. And that was the worst possible mistake he could have made, because D16 does not waste the opportunity that he's been given. He immediately grabs on the Sentinel, tackles him, and while he's flying, destroys his wings and causes them both to free fall as he's fighting and firing at him. Collateral damage, by the way. And they end up crashing straight into the ground at ridiculous speeds, and Sentinel Prime breaks his legs. Now, D16 broke his arm in the fall. His arm is basically worthless now. But here's the thing. D16 has so much hatred that he literally has his functioning left arm grab and hold up his right arm so that he can aim his fusion cannon at him. But as D16 is about to blow Sentinel Prime to bits, Orion shows up and stops him. And naturally, D16 is so upset at this, bro, what are you doing? And Orion's we can't start this new world out doing the same, we can't start this out by executing Sentinel. And the D16 is not hearing it. All he can hear, Orion may have valid points to a degree, but all D16 is hearing is that Sentinel isn't gonna die. This person who did all of this, who completely deserves to die, who's committed atrocity after atrocity, we're going to let him live. That's all D16 is hearing. That's it's all in one ear out the other. And I think a scene that really just sums up how what D16's become is the scene where Orion says to his face, "It's over. All of Iacon knows what he's done." And D16 is "So do I! He's done, he took everything from us. He needs to die." And that's that scene, the sheer amount of pain in his voice during that scene is just, it's masterfully done. Simply having people know what he's done is not enough. There needs to be consequences, for him. There needs to be, the scales are not even. Sentinel needs to die. As long as Sentinel's alive, the world is not fair. He's really trying, he's so confused at how it's even possible for Orion to converse with him, as though the possibility of leaving Sentinel alive is even a valid one. That's one that makes even a modicum of sense. He's literally screaming at him, "He deserves to die! Why can't you see that?" And then while he's basically going through a full blown emotional breakdown in this moment, he's really just the hatred is the near complete consumes him, and Orion chooses to say the worst possible words he could say to him in this situation. Don't be like Sentinel. And in this moment, after that, there was no chance of D16 hearing even a single word of what Orion was trying to say. He still was Pax, you need to move out of my way now before I move you myself. And the instant that Orion tried to make it clear he was going to try and keep talking to him after what he just said, he immediately decked him. He's not hearing a single word of like what he's heard everything he needs to hear, and none of it matters. None of what he said matters. Sentinel Prime needs to die, and Sentinel Prime is going to die. So yeah, he's already fixed his arm at this point, and he aims his fusion cannon right at Sentinel. Clear shot. Sentinel's legs are broken. He's got no way to escape this. And Orion jumps in the way of his fusion cannon and gets blown nearly in half. And the sheer look of horror that immediately goes across D16's entire face as he watches him fall, bounce off the floor from that shot and bounce almost into the chasm, is just so wonderfully done. So yeah, obviously because of all they've been through and their sheer close emotional attachment, D16 immediately tries to grab Orion's arm and hold on to him, but in this moment he is really struggling. He's struggling more than he has in the entire movie, because he can't even begin to fathom what just happened. He just can't understand it. In this moment, he is physically incapable of understanding, why in the world, after everything Sentinel has done, murdering, massacring the entirety of the 13 original primes, removing the T-Cogs of every single Cybertronian miner so that they could pay his debt to the Quintessons. Oh yeah, and that's another charge on top of that, selling out all of Cybertron to their most hated enemies. Murdering Alpha Trion when he finally found him. Deciding to frame D16 up for doing the exact crimes that Sentinel did. Stealing the T-Cog of Megatronus Prime. Literally torturing and mutilating him, and attempting to murder all of them when it came down to it. After all of that, why in the world would Orion get in the way of the shot and let himself get blown in half? He is he cannot possibly understand why Orion would ever make such a decision. In this moment, he is really struggling more than he's ever struggled. And in this moment, despite everything, Orion still says to this man, D, don't. And I get what Orion was going for. Orion jumped into this because, above all, he wasn't necessarily trying to save Sentinel, but he was trying to save his brother. He was trying to save D16 from what he was becoming. But this was not what D16 needed right now. This was the final thing to push D16 over the edge completely. Because in this moment, everything that's happened throughout their friendship flashed back. Every single time Orion roped him into an idea he didn't want to do. Every single time that D16 had to bail him out of something stupid he did. Every single time that Orion's gotten in the way. Every single time that, for a brief moment, if you remember, he literally blamed Orion for waking him up to the truth of Cybertron and putting him down this path. He just thinks and thinks and thinks. And in this moment, despite all their friendship, everything positive that's gone on, all the way that Orion and him have changed each other's lives, all he can think about is the negative. He's let his hatred corrupt him near entirely at this point. And therefore, he has what I like to call a Sozin moment. You see, if you guys are after a lot of Airbender fans, you will know this tragic story of Roku and Sozin, which honestly mirrors this story a lot. Avatar Roku was the best friend of Firelord Sozin. However, Sozin's ambitions led him to begin attempting to conquer parts of the world, including Earth Kingdom territory. Roku, naturally, was not okay with this, and Sozin was upset. Like, he was upset that Roku was daring to, like, get in the way of his ambitions. So, Sozin turned on Roku, and Roku defeated him. However, Roku decided that he was going to spare Sozin out of all his friendship. So later on, there was a catastrophe. A volcano erupted that was going to wipe out tons of innocent people's lives, and Roku tried to stop it. However, even though he was the Avatar, he wasn't powerful enough to completely stop it. So, right when he was looking like all hope was lost, Sozin shows up, and the two of them work together like friends again, because Sozin still in this moment cared about Roku. That he still cared about their friendship. He still even though their friendship has devolved so significantly into a complete mess, he still has those attachments. And so yeah, he goes to save Roku, and they manage to mostly hit the deal with the emergency. But as they're attempting to escape, Roku takes a big old blast of volcanic gas to the face, and is left completely crippled. He can barely breathe, he's completely immobilized, and in this moment, he just reaches out to Sozin and is like, Sozin, help me. And in this moment, Sozin almost helps him, but he realizes something. Roku is the only thing that is in the way of everything he wants to achieve. Everything that he feels is right, and everything he feels that he deserves. If Roku just dies, then everything that he's ever desired will be in the palm of his hand. And so, in this moment, he looks to Roku, his brother, and despite everything, he says, I realize that without you, all my plans suddenly become possible. And he leaves him to die. In this moment, with everything that's going on in D16's head, he momentarily just looks down, and Orion seeing the change slowly go over D16, and this is where disaster strikes. When D16 finally looks up, where he this entire movie, D16's eyes have been shifting. Like I said, he started out yellow when he was still repressing all his rage, and when he still had a lid on things, when he still had some form of hope. And it slowly turned darker and darker. By the time he hit the high guard, his eyes were already orange. He already had so much anger, and he was barely holding on. But in this moment, with Orion still dangling between his fingertips, when D16 finally looks up, his eyes are pure blood red crimson. D16 is completely gone. The D16 Orion knew is that he's gone. And in this moment, he says 4 words that will completely change both their fates. I'm done saving you. And then he drops Orion into the pit to die. When he turns around to fight Sentinel, his eyes, his face, his entire demeanor is completely different from the D16 we saw for the first half of this movie. All that's on his face is hatred. He has allowed himself to focus so much on his hatred of Sentinel and his pain and his anger and his suffering that it has completely consumed him. All he is at this point is his hatred. He has devolved, he has allowed himself to completely be shredded down to a singular, to the singular worst part of himself. So, yeah. He immediately makes short work of Sentinel's goons, picks up Sentinel Prime, who's still trying to book it, And before the eyes of all of Iacon, he tears Sentinel Prime straight in half. And how do people respond to this? How does the High Guard respond to this? Like they've always done, like how they always will do. They cheer him on. And in this moment, the approval of the High Guard is the last thing he needs. Like it's always been the last thing he needed. Because all it does is make him more confident that everything he just did was right. And that's not even remotely the case, but he's too far gone to see that. He makes a big speech before all of Iacon about how the age of the Primes is over. He will there won't be anyone else he's really just completely delved into his own hatred and paranoia to the point that even knowing full well that Sentinel was not a true Prime and all the good the Primes did and everything, all the sacrifices, he's still the same. He's still destroying their legacy. He's still disrespecting them. He can no longer trust anybody, past, present, or future, to lead other than himself. And during this moment, despite it all, he still has a weird respect for Megatron as Prime, but it's tainted. It's been completely tainted, like all of D16 has been tainted. The only smile he will show for the rest of the movie is in this scene, as he takes Sentinel's T-Cog, he's taking Sentinel's T-Cog, which is Megatron's T-Cog, from his dead corpse, the same way Sentinel took Megatron's T-Cog from his corpse. And as he shouts to everybody that he will lead them all into the future, he inserts Megatron's T-Cog into himself. And we begin to see him change. He begins to get bigger, stronger, bulkier. He gets his trademark helmet full blown. We get to see his fusion cannon evolve into an even more powerful one. And then, his design gets more and more familiar to us. Until finally, we hear 3 words that every Transformers fan has been dreading the entire movie and desperately hoping would not be said. I am Megatron. And it's here that we finally see the death of the kind miner known as D16. From this point forward, Megatron is a complete piece of work. He immediately begins his new reign by ordering Iacon to be burnt to the ground. All of it destroyed. He wants every part of Iacon destroyed. It's all a monument to Sentinel his evil. He immediately begins blasting down the statue of Sentinel, which is understandable, before taking aim at the buildings. And all the while, all his High Guard goons are just opening fire with him, with Stark being yeah, hail Megatron, and yeah, no, it's a disaster. It's a disaster. So RC and B try to go up to him and are look, D, come on, man, D, it's over. Sentinel's dead. You got what you want. It's over. But nah, it's not over. For it will never be over for Megatron again. He tells them that this won't be over until every last person who follows Sentinel is dead. And at first, you may think that sounds reasonable, until you realize something. In a previous scene, D16 literally said, and discussed, how pretty much all of Iacon worked for Sentinel. How all Iacon follows Sentinel, and even then, if you assume that he's naturally gonna let the miners off, he's not gonna let off all those people with T-Cogs who benefited from Sentinel's reign in some form or another. He's not gonna handle this with any form of tact or nuance or any form of actual separation. Everybody who was not oppressed like him, he's going to lump in with Sentinel's people. He's this revolution is not going to be civilized. So yeah, he begins beating down Alita 1 and Bumpy as they attempt to stop him. Right as things seem like they're going to take a turn for the absolute worst, something amazing happens. A big red, blue, and white body crashes straight down, and Megatron sees his old friend Orion Pax, but bigger and better than ever. Because while D16 was becoming Megatron, Orion took a little journey to Cybertron's core and promised a spark, where he received something that he was declared worthy for: the Matrix of Leadership. Yeah, so while D16 was becoming Megatron, Orion became Optimus Prime. And this sets Megatron off. He cannot believe what he's seeing. He says, it cannot be. And then he gets angry for multiple reasons. He's like, Primus gave you the Matrix? Because here's the thing. There's a multitude of things here. Is his anger his anger comes from several places. One, on some level, like with every Megatron's, he's upset that Orion was considered worthy and not him. That's just consistent. Because, he believed that he was doing the right thing. He always has. And yet, it was the person who opposed him that, got the Matrix and not him. Two, it is really the fact that Orion was given a Matrix to deal with him. Nobody got the real Matrix to deal with Sentinel when he was forcing people to work in the mines or any of that. When he was murdering, etc., etc. When all that was happening, no Matrix. But now that Megatron is the one calling the shots and doing all this, now the Matrix comes up, and yeah, that angers him. And it's just a multitude of, there's just so much nuance in this one scene, and so much there's so many factors that go into his emotions. And yeah, in this moment, Optimus still is the Optimus is still behaving like Orion. He tries to talk to him, and he's like, we could have built the future together. But Megatron is not hearing it. From his perspective, Optimus, Orion, he's already betrayed him. And he's already been shown that he's just gonna be in the way. So, in this moment, when his brother is yet again offering his hand, to stop all this, he's like, I'm gonna build it myself after I tear down everyone in my way. And then he charges Optimus, and the fight begins. Optimus is fighting with skill beyond his years. The Matrix has given him not only a beefed up power up, but it's also given him experience. The Matrix gives a lot to a Prime when you get it. He's fighting with he's fighting with a certain level of skill and efficiency. Meanwhile, Megatron in the scene, like I said before, he fights like a wild animal. He fights like a man who just had lost all common sense. He's just bashing on Optimus. He's just punching him, and he's fighting with such raw brutality. There's no thought there. There's no common sense. It's just all rage. That's all Megatron is. And eventually at a certain scene, he manages to get Optimus down, but he gets blown back when the Matrix gives Optimus an upgrade, an Energon axe. And at that point, the fight is pretty much over. Megatron can't, Megatron had all these weapons and upgrades from Megatronus Prime's T-Cog, Like he can't beat Optimus at this point. So yeah, the Goon Squad tries to jump Optimus, like I said earlier, and Prime beats them too. So yeah, Megatron goes right at Optimus at the end of the fight, guns blazing, like just pure rage. And Optimus bends one of his blasters, like a smaller blaster, and when Megatron tries to spin around and shoot him with his triple fusion cannon, Optimus cuts it straight in half. And then the fight's completely, utterly over. Megatron has lost. After everything he's done, how hard he's worked, everything he's gone through, he's back where he started, with Sentinel in general. He's on the ground, defeated, humiliated, thinking he did the right thing, but he's completely lost to another Prime again today. And then Optimus gives his monologue. We were given the power to change our world, but instead you chose to destroy it, just like Sentinel. And in this scene, as he's getting back up, the Megatron is just hurting. Like, he's hurting, and he's so full of hatred and anger and pain, because from his perspective, his angry, sad perspective, he's just been doing the right thing. All he's been doing is the right thing. And yet, everybody keeps on treating him like the bad guy with the hard guard. Like, his best friend, his former best friend, is literally comparing him to the person who just destroyed all their lives, destroyed his life, who's just the most evil person he could ever imagine. And he just has so much anger and hatred in his heart right now. But then he hears the next few words from Orion. You betrayed Cybertron and the citizens. Which, again, that goes right back to what he said previously. And, that just angers him more. But then he hears the words, and you betrayed me. And his face doesn't necessarily, soften. It's not like he still, in his moment shows any regret. But, that the hatred isn't as there when he hears that bit. It's not like he's, it's basically him taking it all in. He doesn't regret any of what he did. He's listening in that moment. And then the scene after is just heartbreaking. Orion tells him to take the high guard, take all his followers who agree with his mentality and everything he's done, and leave. Just leave now. He is banished from Icon forever. He's just banished. He's gone. And this is the scene where, despite it all, for a split second, Megatron shows anything even remotely like regret. For a split second here, his face shows so much. The hatred is not what shows through above all in this scene. What shows is pain. Just pure, raw pain and sadness that he did not expect. Despite it all, despite the fact that they just fought and he just tried to murder him, that he did not expect Orion. He did not expect Orion to make that call, to do that to him. He did not expect Orion to hurt him like that. And in that moment, his eyes, his hatred, for a split second, it dims as he takes it all in. It takes in, how far their friendship has fallen. But immediately after, his eyes glow back, brighter than ever. His hatred at that point, his hatred hasn't dimmed, and stayed there. It's doubled. Now it's even more personal. It's personal on, a level that, cannot even be fully described. and then Orion hits him with the it didn't have to end this way. Throughout this entire scene, all Orion has shown is regret and sadness and just so much hurt that this is how things have turned out. But by this point, D16 Megatron, the hatred is too much. He's not understanding any of that. He doesn't care anymore. And at this point, all he can say is, "This isn't over." And then he finishes it off with one word that seems so simple on the surface, but means so much coming from him. This isn't over. Prime. Because by this point, that word for D16 from Megatron carries so much negative weight. Whenever he hears the word Prime, whenever he thinks about primes, all he will ever think about is Sentinel and everything Sentinel's been through. As far as D16 is concerned, as far as Megatron is concerned, Orion Pax is dead to him. Optimus Prime is dead to him. And he always will be. This is not over. What Optimus Prime has done to him will be repaid. But not today. So, yeah. He takes the High Guard, transforms, and leaves. And then we don't see him again for the rest of the movie. Until the end credits scene. Where we see him in a dark, jagged, broken part of Cybertron that, if I had to gamble, is almost certainly Kaon, the Decepticon capital, and most other timelines, and the place where most other Megatrons made their name. And he gives this speech. Sentinel the Betrayer is dead. But his death has given life to a new enemy. A stronger enemy. A personal enemy. He has completely allowed himself to believe full well that Orion Optimus is his foe, is his enemy, is another Sentinel. And he must be killed. And as this scene is playing out, we're seeing Decepticon, we're seeing the High Guard get branded with a new symbol. The symbol of Megatronus Prime's face. But it's been changed. It's different from the way it was before. Where previously there was a certain bulkiness to it, a certain level of warmth and just a certain softness to his face. Here, the new version of it is all jagged. It's pure jagged edges. The eyes are more slit. It looks more sharp. It looks more bitter. It looks more vicious. And every member of the High Guard is being branded with it while he's speaking. And he continues his speech as we hear, "But we will not be blinded by his deceptions." He sees Orion as continuing the same lies that Sentinel has, by continuing the same broken system and the same broken Cybertron, and continuing what Sentinel left behind. He's just continuing. He's we will not be blinded by his deceptions. We are the ones who are Decepticons. Rise up. And in this scene, as we see everybody getting branded with the new Decepticon insignia, the same way that Sentinel branded him, we get to look at the new eyes of the High Guard and how Megatron has changed them. Before, the High Guard was mostly yellow eyes. Starscream had red eyes, but most of the High Guard were at the same yellow eyes that D16 was at the beginning of this movie. But now that's changed. everyone in the High Guard, everyone in the Decepticons now has those same pure hatred, blood red eyes that Megatron has. And all of them begin to say the same rise up chant that Megatron just did as they fire their cannons in the air, repeatedly shouting the same thing and plus completely buying into the new vision that Megatron has created. And the movie ends with just one shot of Megatron's new face and the Decepticon insignia. And that really just sums up how he's become. In that scene, we see none of the D16 that we saw in the beginning of the movie. We see none of the miner who was just trying to grit his teeth and bear it and hope for a better future, who was still friends with his homie Orion and just wanted things to get better. All we see is the same villain we've seen across dozens and dozens and dozens of Transformers media. The butcher who will commit atrocities for millions of years to come. And it's so tragic because right after the scene where like these Megatron, like D16 and Optimus Orion have their last talk, we saw a brief moment where we get to see how they met. And it was so simple. Like seeing like D16 like just like making his little Megatronus Prime like decal on his little bunk as a miner and meeting Orion, and just their way they formed their friendship on the simple basis of like, hey, you watch my back, I've watched yours, we're in this together. And now like it's completely shattered, and that's just this movie was done so well, like, and Megatron was done so well especially. But I think it's time I wrap this up and just get to my final words on the characters. So, yeah. These characters, man, for the most part, these characters were done so well and handled so beautifully. And so all the characters in this movie feel so human, for lack of a better word. And isn't that just so ironic, given that they're all robotic like organisms? Like the spider, like they feel like all these characters feel like they had their own hopes, their own dreams, their own personalities, and all of this feels so natural. This transition feels so seamless when you really look at it all in context. You can understand how Orion got where he was, how D16 got where he was, how Alita got where she was, how Sentinel, like you can understand who Sentinel is. You can understand every character, and they truly feel like characters. And they're just, I cannot say enough. Again, there was one character in this entire movie that I did not like, and I still have hope that he can change for the better. So, yeah, characters. For this movie, I will give the characters a 9.5 out of 10. And I am willing to give that a higher rating, like retroactively, if they stick fixing Bumblebee's character in this next movie. But yeah, this has been very enjoyable for me in terms of like recording this. And while I'm gonna wait to continue this until after my sisters have made their full reviews of the movie, I am so excited to get into how I view the settings and the plot of this movie, because oh man, I have so much to say about those. But until we meet again, I just hope you will all have a wonderful rest of your day. Just take care, be blessed, and enjoy yourselves. Goodbye.